Is Meghan Markle preparing for a life without Harry? Yes, there have been a slew of reports in the media recently that is seemingly portraying Meghan as really striking out on her own, doing things on her own terms. She is looking to the future, whereas her husband, Prince Harry, is looking to the past. And is this part of laying the groundwork for an eventual separation? Now, while I think divorce is terrible on families, of course, it was really hard to ignore Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's tension in their CBS interview. They tended to try and put on a loved up display in Colombia and did succeed in instances, but it was also very obvious at times that Prince Harry is kind of sort of done. He is checked out. He seems frustrated every time she is grabbing for a microphone. And I imagine if she is lecturing the people of Colombia, she is lecturing her husband as well. And it seems like Meghan is really trying to distance herself from her husband and you could say his brand, trying to create her own. She has American Riviera Orchard. She's investing in female led companies and she is looking to the future and what that might mean. While Harry, not only maybe is looking to the past, but is he in her past? We shall examine some of those reports we have, including one report from the New York Times that erroneously originally reported that Meghan Markle might not be living in the same city as her husband. So we are going to discuss this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys are interested in checking out the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you back. Now, while I have actually filmed a couple of videos today, so hopefully we will get some of these edited and out pretty soon. This is one where I thought, you know what, people are really starting to talk about this because there have been so many just seemingly random, strange reports about what's going on with American Riviera Orchard, Meghan Markle calling the New York Times of all things to tell them that she's invested in a female led company. Like, I'm sure the New York Times has much better things to cover than this basically non story. But she forced them to do it. There was an interesting note, but she forced them to cover this. Now we also have Prince Harry, which I was the first to report that Prince Harry left LAX on Tuesday evening. As it turns out, he attended his uncle's funeral in London, or actually in Norfolk, technically, alone. And that is interesting for a couple of reasons, which is seemingly rather odd as Meghan has been very careful about Prince Harry traveling to visit his family in many ways. Obviously, she never wants to travel to the UK because she knows the people in the UK don't like her and she can't really stand that. But Harry traveling and being rather quiet about this is somewhat interesting. And we also have sort of the long report from the Times of London talking about how Harry is sort of kind of an angry child. He's sort of miserable in many ways. This has not been the life he envisioned for himself. And as he hits that big number of 40, is he not happy? I think it's probably pretty easy to deduce that in some ways he definitely is not. He doesn't have a relationship with his family. He's lost many of his friends in London. And that has to be hard. That's his life has completely changed in the last 5 years because of his wife. Obviously, it started changing before then, but really since Mexit and everything, which is coming up on a 5 year anniversary, his life has been pretty disastrous in many ways. It's been a minefield of disaster. And so, as Prince Harry looks to all this, it likely is leading him to reevaluate aspects of his life. And I'm sure Meghan is sort of doing the same. And she has her obviously own things going on. So, let's look at a couple of these little instances here where we can see things maybe aren't so good. And the first one I want to point out here, because I thought initially that this could mean nothing, but then I really was thinking about it. I was like, this could be something rather large, which is this report from the New York Times. This is about Meghan's investment portfolio. Because, you know, she's investing. Her future is in investment. She's an entrepreneur. That is how they're trying to portray her. So she's trying to change up from a ex-royal to a philanthropist and entrepreneur, which none of it really works because Meghan's not investing that much. And obviously, as well, she's trying to make her fashion pay because Meghan's always looking for a paycheck somewhere. Now, granted, Harry and Meghan need to make money. I totally understand that. But I think it's the aspect of Meghan trying to make everything pay, even as a royal, like merching, which has been a rumor for a really long time, just sort of puts a bad taste in your mouth. And when realizing Meghan was using her time as a royal maybe to merch and make money off the clothing that she was selling. That's obviously not what she should be doing. She obviously cites as well that Strathberry sold out of all the bag that she wore this particular day in 11 minutes. And you can just tell she's like really mad that in some ways that they were very successful and earned a lot of money and she didn't get a cut of that. So, but here's the thing that's interesting. There was a correction made to this original article. An earlier version of this article misstated the location of Meghan's home in California. It is in Montecito, not Santa Monica. Now, I will say if they had said Santa Barbara, I would say, no, that's fine. They're really close. They're basically the same location. But to mistake Montecito and Santa Monica is a big deal. So let's check out this map here. So as we can see from Santa Monica, which is all the way down here, all the way up to Montecito, it is going to take you 2 hours and 4 minutes. And it is 82 miles away. So that's a long way. So now if we go to Montecito, you can see Santa Barbara's right here. Santa Barbara's right here. Montecito's right before it. And so if you were to exchange Montecito and Santa Barbara, I totally get it. But to exchange Montecito and Santa Monica, that's just very, very different here. These places are very far away. Now, could be some lazy journalism because I would imagine if I was a New York Times writer and I was told, oh, Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, she's made a $10,000 investment and now has a minority stake in this company that nobody really knows. I would go, are you serious right now? They're like people starving in Africa. Do we really need to talk about this? That would be my initial reaction. And to the credit of the journalists, they went ahead and went with the story, which I think is kind of sort of a non-story. It's not really a story. Like she gave them a story. They're like, I guess we can post this. So I guess we will. But like it's not a story. It's not a good story in a way because it just doesn't say anything. The interesting part of it is what Meghan Markle is saying via Celeste Collective, basically saying that she's trying to merch off her clothes. I think the Telegraph had a great little statement. Their little blurb on it was awesome. They said, Duchess of Sussex, I use my global spotlight to help sell clothes. That is exactly the headline you want. But again, this distance is very interesting. And let's look at how they portrayed it in the original article because I have a question here. So we see here, and this is from the New York Times. It said last week on a call from her home in Santa Monica. And again, I will say that the author here probably most likely doesn't cover royals, probably really doesn't care, probably was forced to write this piece because somebody said, well, she'll get a lot of clicks, whatever. But again, from her home in Santa Monica, because Meghan slipped up a couple of times in Colombia and called her children my children, and then would switch to our all of a sudden, as if she realized, oh, I said my children, my roof, my, not our. She did that in CBS too. There were a couple of instances where she talked about my children. And I get it, they are her children, but she's usually doing that right next to her husband. In that instance, shouldn't it be our children? Because you're supposed to be doing these things together. And so it raises a lot of interesting questions about what's really going on. So again, this is just from the Wayback Machine. I was just curious how it looked here. And next we'll look at here the Times. And this is actually partly from a People magazine article, but I found it in the Times of London because I was like trying to figure out, okay, where did I hear this? It was from a good source. And so this was from People magazine. And it talks about kind of Harry's looking towards the past while Meghan's looking towards the future. And again, you feel this diverging pathways between them. So the sources also said that Meghan wishes he could let go of these lawsuits, be happy, and live in the moment. She wants him to be free of all of this. And you could also imply that she kind of wants to be free of him and the burden of him and his past. Because what Meghan did is Meghan churned up Harry. He went back to his mother. He's reliving all these memories. He's getting the savior complex because Meghan was like, oh my gosh, Harry, the press are chasing me just like they chased your mother. And so his savior complex rises up. And so he's doing all these on her behalf. And I went into this in a video too. At this point, though, she doesn't really care anymore because it's not really about her. She never really felt all that threatened. But he did this because she said these particular things. And so he's doing this in response to it. But what if she doesn't want it? What if she never really wanted it? If that's the case, then Harry is really in a tough spot because he's doing all this on her behalf, wasting millions upon millions of dollars but she may have never wanted him to do it in the first place. So this was just an interesting piece overall because it's talking about Harry's challenges and how sort of he's kind of an angry boy, I think is what somebody said. Yeah, as one of Harry's oldest friends told the Times. And again, these people know him. They get the odd WhatsApp adding he's an angry boy. Things haven't turned out the way he wanted. I think he misses being over here in Britain desperately and wants to be admired more. And anyone who knows him feels he'd rather be at the top of the props here with everyone loving him as they do with William and Catherine. And I think that's true. Now, I know some people, especially the Sussex squad, go, well, they don't know his new friends now and they wouldn't talk. Well, these are his old friends, the people who know him best. The thing about Harry's new friends is none of them really know him. That is the thing that Meghan Markle has concocted is a world where nobody really knows Harry. So he can be sort of kind of anonymous. But the truth is as well, is that the people who truly know you all told him Meghan was bad news. And he decided to ignore that advice. And he's living with the consequences of that. So you see right here that he wants everyone to love him. And I believe that's true. He wants everybody to love it. And he's confused oftentimes as to why things are going so wrong. And so this is causing frustration and tension in their marriage, I believe. That's just my personal opinion. I should preface this with all this, mostly is my personal opinion. Except for the scoop I got saying that Harry was flying over on Tuesday to the UK. That I was right on. That's just a verifiable fact. Anyways, he's an angry boy. And Meghan is having to deal with this angry boy, and she's the one who started it, but now she can't turn it off, and she ain't too happy about that. But what you can be happy about, which is fun, is traveling to Europe, which is oh so fun. And the best time, or at least the time I haven't really been able to travel too much, but I'm so excited to, is Christmas. So if you enjoy following this channel and everything we do, I do have an upcoming trip with some followers, some people who have been on these trips 2 and 3 times now to the Christmas markets in Berlin, Dresden, and Prague. So we will be checking out the Christmas markets, going to museums, checking out history things. I'm planning in Dresden to go to the Green Vault, the one that was famously broken into a couple of years ago, and hopefully seeing the Dresden Green Diamond. That is my plan. And so we are going to have such an amazing time. So if you are interested in chatting about Harry and Meghan, but also learning about history and making great, amazing friendships, which do unbelievably happen. These apps that we have with the conversations that keep going on, it's amazing. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to check out the link up above. I would love to have you join us. We have some spots left, and the date for the closing of the trip is coming up really, really soon. We only have about a month and a half. So if you are interested, check it out right now. I've also heard that flights are pretty good around that time. So again, I would love to see you there. All right, so let's move on to Meghan here at American Riviera Orchard. I feel like American Riviera Orchard is funnily enough the thing that riles me up the most sometimes because I'm like, how in the world are you this incompetent? I don't understand. Because Meghan Markle has all the resources in the world and somehow completely and utterly bungled American Riviera Orchard. And this is what she wants her future to be. She wants, again, to merch and have people buy her stuff and make her money. And again, this is part of this space. That's why we have commercials and everything. And I get it. Some people find it obnoxious, but that is sort of the currency. So literally, again, I just want to emphasize, I've done a whole video on this, but she went from influencer to royalty, back down essentially to influencer. Meghan Markle has never left the influencer space mentally. She's still there. Now, granted, being an influencer is not bad. It's not bad, but it's kind of silly when she could be a royal. Like, I am an influencer, so I'm basically the same as Meghan in many ways. Like, how crazy is that? Isn't that not insane? She could have the biggest platform in the world, and she's essentially an influencer. Like, that's really pathetic to be honest. Really, really pathetic. Anyways, so she's had to do this because she's trying to launch American Riviera Orchard, can't get it off the ground. I mean, technically, she's already launched it. She launched it in March with no branding, no products, no messaging, like nothing. There's nothing to this brand yet. The next thing we got is a series of pictures of jam on social media from her friends. Now, the jam we knew couldn't be purchased because there are only 50 of them. She labeled them and told us that. Now, what I think happened at this point is because we got a series of them in April and I think one in May and one other thing in June. I think Meghan, again, because she's incompetent at this whole thing, was hoping to actually get everything out or get something out in April or May. And then trademark hell happened, and she kept having to delay and delay and delay because what you don't do when you're launching a brand is launch it with nothing and then hope that the trademarks catch up with you. That's generally not what you do. Now, if you're starting really small, like at a farmer's market and things tend to grow, and then you kind of have to get trademarks on the back end, that I get. But Meghan Markle, who has a huge international platform, she does, launched a brand with nothing and then is having to play catch up. I mean, this is so amateurish. It's unbelievable. Influencers with millions of followers have done better than Meghan Markle. And this is the second now rumor she's had to debunk via people, allegedly. I should say allegedly in terms of them actually being rumors, not the fact. The first is that her stuff was stuck in trademark hell, which it probably is to a certain extent because again, she didn't do the smart thing of actually have the brand and products ready to go before launching. She did it after. Why? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. And so she's now having to debunk that she can't find a CEO. Now, this actually rumor came out earlier this year, so I don't know why it's being regurgitated now. But a source tells People, which is basically Meghan and her team, that Meghan has been working behind the scenes to prepare the launch of American Riviera Orchard slated for later this year. Now, I will go back and I should go back and find the People magazine article because People magazine said in the spring that it would launch in the spring. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right, guys, here we go. So this is from People magazine, officially on April 11th, 2024. And this, at the time, I said, we're halfway through spring. It's April. Meghan will eventually launch her new lifestyle brand later this spring. People understands because Meghan Markle's people told People that she would launch it in the spring. And then she utterly and completely failed to do that. So now we have later this year sometime, a vague timeline because apparently, again, incompetence abounds on Team Sussex. Source also claims that Meghan has been struggling to find a CEO for the brand, leading to delays, clarifying that these reports are untrue. An insider previously told People Meghan's new venture will reflect everything she loves: family, cooking, entertaining, and home decor, except for if any of these people actually happen to be real family. Family for her is whoever happens to be the most sycophantic at the time. And so as Meghan is excited about her latest personal venture, this is something she's been wanting for a long time. She's excited to share her style and things that she loves. And so hopefully you buy it and make her money because that's all she can do apparently for somebody who's a philanthropist and everything. But this is what she wants. This is everything. So yeah, we have all this stuff about the trademarks. We have now her investments that she's talking about and everything. And there's more to that, but it's kind of lame. But again, I want to just highlight this. She is struggling to get this thing off the ground. It was supposed to come out in spring. People magazine, if you don't know, is essentially a PR mouthpiece for the stars. The publicists basically give the entire article to People. They don't really do any journalism. They just basically regurgitate what the PR person told them. Somebody on Meghan's PR team told them it would be out in the spring. It is now the end of summer. Fall is just around the corner, like literally later this week. And she has nothing except for maybe it'll get out by the end of the year. It needs to because she's going to totally miss the Christmas season, like 150%. And if you are somebody who is trying to catch that Christmas season, you desperately need that. And so this all leads to the latest Us Weekly magazine, which has this massive feature of Meghan. Like she is plastered on there. Meghan's life, now a new brand, Netflix show, and peace at home with Prince Harry and the kids. So this is an exclusive. Now, Us Weekly is considered a slightly lower tier than People magazine. I don't know quite how they get their sources and their stories. It could be completely legit. Could be obviously they're being fed pieces. I don't really know. And that's not really the purpose. But I think this has been something that has been given to them. And so it just talks about how Meghan, she had the TIG on the side as an actress. And now she's a philanthropist with the TIG 2.0 on the side, essentially. And so talking about how, it's been challenging for Meghan. She took a beating in the UK press, as if Catherine and other royals have not. They definitely have. So recently it talks about how Meghan has been back in the game full throttle. She's set to launch American Riviera Orchard, and her new Netflix series centered around cooking, entertaining, and gardening has finished filming. And then this is funny. This is actually incorrect. So in July, she joined a slew of Hollywood heavyweights, including Reese Witherspoon and Gwyneth Paltrow at the Hamptons home of power broker Amy Griffin for a one-day business summit. I looked at the pictures. Reese was there last year. I don't know officially if she was there this year, and I'm pretty sure Gwyneth was not. So that is not true. They were posting pictures of Gwyneth and Reese in like New York Post and everything from last year and not clarifying that it was not from this year, that it was from the previous year. So she's been busy with her philanthropic endeavors, like sitting down with CBS News to discuss their new campaign, the Parents Network, which I don't think is going to go anywhere, which aims to protect kids from online harm by basically saying it's the internet's fault, not, that the parents can't do anything. Basically, it's a terrible internet. Meghan has transitioned from actress to royal to entrepreneur. She's worn many hats, but she believes age and experience have prepared her for a bigger purpose in life. She's very happy with the role she's carved out. But again, she's pretty incompetent business person because American Riviera Orchard should be in store shelves, online, whatever by now. She doesn't even have a stinking email that she sent any of the people on her email list. Like she's essentially, I've said this before, keeping everyone's email hostage because she hasn't sent out email, so you can't unsubscribe. It's absolutely insane. So this is a big Us Weekly cover. Now, ironically, this picture, you can tell from the earrings she's wearing, which were a gift from the Queen. This is when she was doing an engagement with the Queen. So they're using a photo that's 5+ years old, 6 years old, about, to portray her as on her own terms. How the Duchess is moving on from the pain of the past, finding peace, and transforming from a royal scapegoat to a lifestyle mogul and philanthropist. She's not a lifestyle mogul. She's incompetent as a businesswoman. She only launched American Riviera Orchard because Catherine was getting so much attention for not being around and Meghan couldn't stand it. And so she pre-launched American Riviera Orchard without a clue as to what to do with it. It's like incredible. But on her own, it just seems like Meghan is perhaps striking out on her own. She is letting go with the past, I believe, including her husband. So that is just my personal opinion. She is now looking forward. After Spare, Harry and Meghan realize, okay, we're ready to move on. We want to focus on our future. A family friend says, we can have meaning and importance separate from the lives we had previously. But the thing is, they're constantly trying to mimic the lives that they had previously. You can't say that and then constantly mimic it. That's not how this works. I find that so aggravating. It's like, we're moving on, letting go of the past. But no, we're going to cosplay it until we're blue in the face because apparently that's all we can do. She wants peace and knows you can't find peace if you harbor resentment. But she does have a lot of resentment. You can tell she resents everything by the fact that she's imitating it and can't let it go. The thing is, she can't let it go. It's like, it's so obvious. She's embracing her inner circle. People that will basically not hold her to account. That's the thing. Meghan drops people who might challenge her perspective on something at some point. That's kind of what she does. She is not really interested in anybody who doesn't also get her ahead. So if, like, Ellen DeGeneres, I would imagine, is somewhat problematic based on how her TV show ended. So I don't think she's probably close to Ellen DeGeneres anymore. That's just my opinion. Harry, of course, has a small group of friends and that he keeps an inner circle tight for understandable reasons. But he also keeps it tight because these are brand new people. He doesn't really know them. Why? Because he doesn't have any friends anymore because his wife separated him from his entire family and his entire life. He'll always be fond of his home country, but the way he views it, his wife and his kids are his priority. If that means making sure they're safe and happy in Montecito, then he supports that. Safe and happy, but doesn't necessarily mean it's with him, you could say. Again, very interesting. So, of course, the focus on being a mom, and the Sussex friend said, and this is so wrong, I think every parent wants to share their kids with the world, but they can't. William's kids, for example, have way more security, even though they're recognizable. And the same doesn't apply to Harry and Meghan's children. Oh, the sadness of knowing that you are the spare. This is not rocket science. Every monarchy works this way. If you are the spare and the spare kids, at some point, you are just not going to be treated the same. His children are not the same as William and Catherine's children. Harry's children are constitutionally irrelevant. Catherine and William's children are not. They're not going to get the same level of security. Beatrice and Eugenie didn't get the same level of security at some point. That's just how the royal thing falls. It's how it goes. This is not hard. It's for explaining the royal heritage to children. They'll have these conversations in due time. They're so well-mannered and everything. But this is dumb. They gave them royal titles. I'm sure as soon as Meghan could, she started calling her kids Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. 150%. I 1,000% believe that's what she told her kids immediately once the Queen died. She's like, oh, you're a prince and princess now. Isn't that great? Yeah. But the reality is always going to be is that because Harry and Meghan have not shown their kids to the public, and I get it, that is their choice. If their titles are stripped, nobody's gonna give 2 thoughts about it. They're gonna go, "Okay," because nobody cares. The thing is, with royal kids, I've said this, and I know not everybody agrees, but there's kind of a, you could say, a unsaid social contract. If you want the public to care about your family, they have to see your family. And that's just how it works. She's protecting her peace, obviously not speaking with her father. Her remains constant support. They're so in sync throughout the relationship. They stood together no matter what. No, they didn't. They looked terrible in that CBS interview. They were so not in sync. You could see the same thing in Colombia. They're not in sync. She's finding joy in her work, not their work. She does say their work is more personal, projects they are passionate about, opposed to project being given projects to do. Now, they could create passion projects within the monarchy. That's a total and complete lie. She says she could not be more excited about American Riviera Orchard, which sources tell us is likely to launch around her Netflix series, which will reportedly be released early next year. Okay, so now we've gone from later this year to next year. Yeah, they have no clue when this thing is going to launch. They have no products. They can't launch it until they have products. This is absolute incompetence to the extreme. It's embarrassingly bad. I can't imagine, especially Kris Jenner, as successful as she and her children have been, is looking at Meghan Markle and laughing at the sheer stupidity that is the train wreck of the launch of American Riviera Orchard. 150%. The Netflix series is going to be a take on her and the joy of living. What does that even mean? It's going to be a take on her, because we really need to get to know her. Little things she's learned in terms of being a modern day hostess, except for any member of her family. Like, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. My family hosted a bunch of people a couple of weekends ago. My mom actually hosted members of her family. Meghan doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. She doesn't host any member of her family except for her mother and her cousin, the people who go along with all the stories. Not currently on the Duchess's radar, running for office, returning to acting, or writing a memoir. She's going to write a memoir when she doesn't have anything else to pull. That is when she'll write a memoir. She's adopting an attitude of gratitude, except for if obviously you give her a royal title, then she'll stomp all over you. She's being herself. Meghan's been candid about her struggles to fit in with Harry's family and the stuffiness of the monarchy. But now she can be who she wants. There's air and space and room. Maybe air and space and room away from her husband. She said in Colombia, there's something so liberating about being yourself and being comfortable in your skin and surrounded by a space that is excited to see you exactly the way you are. So, interesting piece here. But what can we gain from all of this? Because obviously, I don't really know what's going on. You don't really know what's going on. None of us really know what's going on behind the scenes. But the body language in the CBS interview was very, very telling. This is a couple that is not in sync. This is a couple who are having problems. And that's not a bad thing. All couples have problems from time to time. But the problem is how Meghan has gone about her relationship with Harry. I was talking to my mom about this, and I think she's right. Meghan has played the oldest female trick in the book. She came to him all doe-eyed and entranced by him, trying to tell him, "Oh, Harry, I love you so much. You're so amazing." And he fell for the lines. And then once they got into a relationship, the script sort of shifted. He went from being the leader to being the follower. She's the one doing the investments. She's doing things on her own term. She has her program. She, her. Everything is about Meghan. It's all about Meghan. Harry's an afterthought. He has always been to her. He has been a means to an end, and I'm sure he's feeling that right about now. That he's just simply a means to an end. That there's not really, you could say, a ton of love, I guess, between them in many ways. That it's become a business transaction, because you got to admit, and I've said this in a variety of situations, that Harry and Meghan have made their lives exceptionally more difficult. They have. No one else. It's the responsibility of the two of them. They've made their life more difficult. And because of that, Harry and Meghan have challenges that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And the result is a life where tensions have to be high. They've made these multi-million-dollar deals and are in the process of losing all of it. They are struggling to get her thing that they're hoping could be this next cash cow off the ground. Because as it turns out, Meghan's an incompetent businesswoman. She can't seem to figure out how to run a brand. She still wants to be an influencer. She still wants to make her fashion pay. I mean, it's her right, but she's doing everything she can to make that happen. And sometimes it doesn't. I did a video and I will edit it, hopefully, and post it sometime soon. It'll be on the fashion channel, though, about that whole article about Meghan's investment. And she basically meant, I want my fashion to pay. I want people who see me and buy things to pay for me, basically. And again, that's influencer culture. But Megan supposedly, allegedly portrays herself as wanting something deeper, something more. But no, she's shallow. She wants the money. That's all she's in it, any of this for. She went to Colombia, made multiple outfit changes, probably because she's getting a kickback from anybody who buys them. That's the only reason. In some cases, probably, is that she's hoping to get a kickback or that she has a deal with the brand. They give her free stuff, she wears their stuff, and she gets money if somebody orders something in particular. Because Meghan Markle, again, at the end of the day, she's shallow, vain, and vapid. That's always been my thought about her. And when it comes to her relationship with Harry, he's served a purpose, but now as things continue to move on and they just don't really have a direction, he's becoming less and less useful. And because of that, he'll become more and more disposable. We talked about this in Colombia. We talked about the cracks in their marriage earlier this month. Like things are starting to break down clearly. And the big problem that the two of them have is if they divorce, and especially if it's sudden, like we see somewhat a loved up display in Colombia. Maybe we see this picture of them dancing and oh, they're so in love. But if somebody files for divorce in the next couple of months, then that's revealed to be a complete and utter lie. It was completely and utterly a lie, which damages their brand even more. Because I do think some of the PDA is a complete and utter act. It's an act that they've started, now they can't shut off. And so when it comes to the time to, let's say, end things or bring things to a close, they'll look again, not only like hypocrites, but like liars because they faked it for so long. They tried to fake it for so long. But as soon as they filed for divorce, the whole thing is revealed to be the farce that it is. And that damages their brand even more. And that's why I've always argued don't do too much PDA if you're a public couple. It doesn't look like any of it was really ever real to begin with. And that's when people start to question things. And people are already questioning things. And it'll just lead to more problems for the two of them. And so we shall see how things turn out. Obviously, this is just my theory. I don't know really what's happening behind the scenes, and I hope the best for them and their family. I really do. But they've also added a lot of stress to their lives. They've also added a lot of things to their lives that could raise unnecessary tensions in a relationship and marriage. And I have no doubt Harry and Meghan are experiencing a bit of that right now. So, guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you very soon. Bye.